Today I had a dream that Stephen and Christian had an actual conversation and enjoyed each other's company. Wait, this is real. Heck yay. Get out of my way and I'll see you there. Enjoy.
Ow.
Hang on, did you just hate yourself trying to give me the signal?
You know, if you like clap hard enough, it hurts your hands.
Yeah. Like when you're back in primary school, where people go up on stage, you collect their rewards or whatever.
You
and
have
you're
to
just
clap
being
the
like,
loudest.
Yeah, you're just sat there, not even fucking thinking straight, and you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna clap my hands until they fucking bleed.
Yes. But then you work out the
Yeah, I
perfect
would.
technique to just clap the loudest.
Now, I actually remember in primary school where there was that many coming up on stage to get certificates and that we just kept on clapping, we just didn't stop. And at first where, they clap, it's not in sync, it's just what it sounds like when a crowd is clapping. But then after about 5 minutes straight, we all just kept clapping and it just ended up in sync. And it just sounded so weird to hear, but we just didn't give a shit. It's like clapping and that. It's applauding and saying, well done, you achieved something, we're applauding you for that. Whereas it eventually got that way where it's just like, yeah, whatever, just collect the fucking thing and bugger off. But yeah, you were going on there before we started that you got yourself something Pokemon related.
Yes, I obviously been playing on my DSi, because fuck it, I'm not going to get a DS and I'm not going to get a 2DS, I'm going to go in the middle.
I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what the difference is. I don't get DSs and all that stuff.
Basically,
Okay.
everything from DSi below isn't 3D, but like the DS 2D and 3D, it's just like makes it more 3D somehow.
Right.
But I have ordered for my Game Boy Advances, because I have two of them.
Why have you got two?
Well, the one that flips open, and there's one that's just constantly out, and one's it's an SP Advanced, like Game Boy Advanced SP, and then the other one's just Game Boy Advanced.
Right, okay.
And I've got Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire versions, Game Boy Advance, GBA, SP, DS, UK seller.
Do you know what? It does surprise me, like, how long Pokemon has been going on for. Like, we're talking, how old was I? Maybe 6 years old? Maybe even younger when I first heard about Pokemon. So it's been going on for, like, over 20 years. But just out of curiosity, Pokemon, how the fuck do you spell it?
My worst regret, I
Pokemon?
used to have a ton of Pokemon cards, and then there was like this sale, like charity sale. And I brought them in expecting to take whatever I didn't sell, bring back home, but no, they just took them and I never saw them again. And it's like, how much they go for now? It's like, geez.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have, I've talked to, like, Pange about it, and, like, I used to have a fairly decent collection of Pokemon cards, and I don't know what happened to them, but I'm willing to bet that I threw them out. I know that there are some that are worth a lot. Like, I'm not going to say who he is, but I do have a friend who collects them. And another reason why I'm not going to say who he is because this doty fucker thought he'd get a cocky, and he decided to steal a crate of Pokemon cards off the back of a truck, got caught and did time. Anyway, the point is, he collects them, and he came round one time with this book, and it was filled with Pokemon cards, and I believe it was only a third of his collection. And you're talking, you had, say, what's it called? It's not Charmander, but it's like the third, like, the dragon version, the third one.
Charizard.
Charizard, is it?
Mm.
Yeah, so he had about, I don't know, 5 or 6 variants of this one card for this Pokemon. Like, just one of them had this teeny tiny, like, golden sticker on it. And apparently that one little detail is what makes the value shoot up.
Not gonna lie, I'd try and just like pretend, hey, do you want to stay over? Bring your Pokemon cards. I'm really interested. Just like sneaks away one of the cards without him noticing.
Do you know what? It was a bit weird, like, how protective he was over them, because I was saying to him, obviously, Pange and Kara, they can vouch for this. I want to say our mate, but I barely talk to her. Their mate, Sasha, is also a big fan of Pokemon. I know Pange is a big fan, but she, I believe, collects some of the cards. So I wanted to get a picture. When he was round here and he was showing me them, I wanted to get a picture to show Pange and Sasha. But he got all paranoid, It was like, no, I'd rather you didn't. I was like, well, why not? It's not like they know you. They don't know where you live. I'm not going to nick them. We're talking one lives, in Crewe. The other one lives in Sheffield, for fuck's sake. So, yeah, he just was dead paranoid about it. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, according to Google, the first episode of Pokemon was released April 1st, 1997.
I used to love watching that in the morning.
Yeah, but I was 4 years old when that came out. 4 years old.
Jeez.
I even remember primary school kids being, I want to say addicted. They were, no, a better word, obsessed. They were proper obsessed with it. That's all they fucking talk about. And at the
Would you
time,
agree? When we had, like, me and you both had Pokemon cards, we got them, but then they slowly started to decrease in fashion, so you just didn't care about them anymore, and that was probably why you got rid of them, and then they just shot up, like, middle of nowhere now, and it's like, well, poo face.
I won't lie, that's more accurate than you realise. I mean, I've actually seen memes that describe it perfectly. Primary school, oh my god, Pokemon. High school, Pokemon. College, yay, Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's just that, yeah, it's so accurate. It's amazing how accurate that is, because as I said, like I had mates in primary school who were addicted, obsessed, whatever word you want to use. High school wasn't even mentioned, and then college, it's all people would fucking talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Crazy.
but it's like you'd know more than me,
What?
but it's like maybe originally there was only 100, maybe 150 Pokemon, and now there's like 500 or something, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it was like some like 580 something Pokemon now.
Because I think it was maybe, I don't know, call it about 5-6 years ago when I was seeing like the joke. You know, back then you had a Pokemon based off a mouse, Pikachu. You had a Pokemon based off a lizard, Charmander, so on and so forth. But then now you're getting
Walking
Pokemon
trash. Ice cream cone.
Ice cream cone, yeah, like a Pokemon based off an ice cream cone. It's like they're running out of ideas. Bloody hell. 23 seasons of Pokemon according to Google.
Bloody hell.
That's almost as bad as The Simpsons.
How many seasons does The Simpsons have?
I'll quickly Google it now. Right, Simpsons. One sec. 32 seasons of The Simpsons.
The official
Technically-
count of Pokemon is 893.
Fuck off, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what? At some point, I'm gonna have to go through them and like, see what variants there are. Because let's face it, the Pokemon universe, it is an interesting one. I mean, some of them, like with most things, like even like it's a hell of a comparison. But it's like when you've got like say Marvel and DC, where it's aimed like heroes and all that aimed at kids, Batman and the like, Pokemon. Like, let's face it, a lot of these things kids love. But if
Yeah.
you look into it more detailed, it's fucking dark.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Pokemon, I don't know what it's called, but if I just said, where's the skull of his fucking mother, you'll know who I'm on about.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that I worded it
Cubone.
like that is, dark as it is.
Well, one
But
thing,
yeah, it's like,
do you know, like
Oh, go on.
collectibles nowadays?
yeah.
In primary school, Pokemon was more like a sideline for us. One thing that really got us riled up and going, Moshi Monsters.
Moshi Monsters. I need to Google this.
But that got really stupid because like they had like really creative individual ones, and I've like got all the like golden tins because they used to release tins full of golden versions or rock variants, like one of the main rare ones. Remember once I had to get blood taken and my dad spent 40 quid on 2 little Moshi Monsters for me.
Hang on a minute, I've just remembered something. I thought it was, when you said Moshi Monsters, I thought you meant something else. I need to Google this.
You
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
Go-Go's.
No, do you know what? Actually, yeah, they are called. That's weird. That Crazy Bones is what I typed in, and the full name is Go Crazy Bones.
Yeah, love Go-Go's.
Fucking hell! So you know what they are then?
Oh yes, they were neat little. All I could describe them as neat little Japanese things.
Yeah.
That's what they just remind you of. They're that not like singling like the Japanese out, like they're all eccentric, but do you know like their anime type videos and stuff that are based off them? I'd say they're little action figures of like creatures, as I'd describe as anime creatures.
Well, all I can say is the Crazy Bones were just lumps of plastic molded in certain shapes. That's
Yeah,
literally
pretty
all
much.
they were. But I don't know if you did this, what me and my mates would do. We'll sit a metre apart. We'll have one of the Crazy Bones, whatever, sat in front of us. And what you'd have to do, you take turns, and basically you throw one of your crazy bones
Yes.
at theirs. Yeah.
Never did it,
So
but I know
did
what
you-
you're on about.
Yeah. The way we done it is, it was funny. Like, if we played it where it wasn't for keeps, you didn't give a shit what one you put down. But if you played for keeps, it's like, no, I like this one. This one's blue. Oh, I like this one. It's like the blue one, but not fucking blue. Who gives a shit? But back then, for some reason, you did. And I even remember there was on the packet back then, Sharky or whatever the fuck they called it, saying that it was the rarest one. See if you can get it. And I remember that I did actually get one, and I was so made up, but there was nothing special about it. It was just the same fucking thing, but in the shape of a shark.
I like the mini go-go's. That's because, like, in your brain, you're like, oh, these are good guys and these are bad guys, and it's like, because it was a little guy where you opened up a big guy and the little guy sat inside him, and it's like, that's just a bad guy, just hands down, bad guy. And I loved the carrying cases for it, because you could actually get like a giant go-go that you put your little go-go's in, like the mouth opens and you put them in there and close it.
I had no idea that was a thing. Like, we're talking for me, I just had a plastic bag to shove all mine in.
Fair enough.
Well, we're talking, it's like, I think at the time when I used to play with them, I was maybe about 9 years old. So we're still talking, there was a time where, not a lot of money was coming in and all that, so I was still pretty much, skint and that. I mean, trying to explain it to, friends and that's just like, it just goes over their heads. Like, before I moved to where I live now, like before the age of 8 and that, we didn't even have enough money for fucking, well, put it this way, the house was not exactly in good nick, didn't even have hot water and all that bollocks. So once I got to the age of, say, 13 or 14, I got a paper round, and that's when I was able to actually start buying shit that I actually wanted.
Well, you hear about people getting paper rounds, but it's just like, it's a dead tradition now. Going out, finding a job, oh, get the paper round.
There was this paper shop that I worked in, like I said, at the age of 13 or 14, and I was working there till the age of 18. And every year, Christmas tips. I shit you not, the woman who was giving us the papers, she was helping herself to the tips, and we couldn't prove it for years, up until the point when I quit. And what had happened is, you had my brother who started with the paper round, but then he'd be too lazy to get out of bed. Like, no joke. One time, I go in there to do my paper round, and she says, if Michael doesn't turn in, I'm going to sack him. So I tell him this, and literally he calls in and said, look, I quit. So it's just like, so you're too lazy to go in. So with being threatened of getting the sack, you just go, all right, then I quit. But the thing is, as I said with the tips, the first few years, we'd get on average about 100 each. But for some reason, with my brother, it was getting less and less and less. But he was doing the exact same rounds. And at one point, the tips was only 20 quid. So we can't help but feel as if that she was trying to push my brother out. Whether she was or not, we can't really prove it, but we had strong suspicion.
Yeah.
But then as time went on, there was 2 paper rounds, and I started to do both of them. So of course, I started getting double pay. Sounds, can't complain with that. But then as time went on further, without warning, she just gives me the half the pay. I was like, well, where's the rest of it? I was like, well, we had to do it this way because it's unfair on everyone else. I was like, but I'm doing twice as much as everyone else.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, but it's unfair. I was like, oh, do you know what? I've had it with your bullshit. And I started saying to her how I've had enough of her basically taking advantage of us. What kind of like clicked on for me was she was helping herself to the tips. Was there was one lass, she'd give me a tenner, and then she'd give the woman in the shop a fiver. So, 15, it's a lot of fucking dosh, innit?
Yeah.
But then what would happen is, for some reason, she only gave me a fiver face to face. I nearly said her name then. And then the woman in the shop would then give me a fiver as well. So, I'm a fiver short from what I usually get. But then the woman said, did so-and-so give you that tenner? So it's like, oh, hang on a fucking minute. She's saying that she passed on a tenner, but I only got a fiver. Yeah, okay, this pretty much confirms it for me. So, of course, when I'm flipping out, I mention it all to her. But her head is, I'm like, do you know what? While we're on the subject, and I started having to go at other shit then. And there was one thing that really, really pissed me off about her. You cannot mistake a number 1 for the number 2. So sometimes what she'd do is, let's just say if it's meant to be delivered to, say, 42, and she'll write down, say, 41. So when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, maybe it's a one-off. I'll deliver it. I'd get a bollocking for it. I'll say, but it said 41. No, it defo said 42.
Yeah.
You just read it wrong. So, shit like that would happen.
Purposely
so
tripping you up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say purposely tripping me up. It's more of a case of she cocked up, but wouldn't admit it. So I was like, so while we're on the subject, you're not fucking perfect. You cannot mistake a 1 for a fucking 2. And the way this went on, basically told us to get fucked, and I went home. And the next thing you know, a colleague of her is messaging me mum saying, oh my god, you should have seen your Stephen made so-and-so cry. I was like, fucking good. And what made it even better was for the rest of the week, it fucking rained, didn't it? And I always said, if I ever quit,
karma.
it had to be pissing down with rain.
Yeah.
And the entire week it was like that. I was so happy. So yeah, I told my boss to go fuck herself.
Wait, how did we get from Pokemon to this?
Talking about youth, talking about how when I was younger, buying shit, and then, went off on a tangent
yes,
that
we're
way.
talking about, collectibles. But yeah, me being me, I'm very needle phobic. And I remember I had to get my blood taken once. There's another story to add on to this. But the only way I'd get it done is if I got 2 rare mossy monsters.
Right, I forgot what mossy monsters were. I googled them before, so basically it was bribery.
Yeah, pretty much. Controlled bribery, yes.
Okay.
And one thing that I've still got it now, and the 2 that I got, I remember it was a Lady Yugo and another one. Lady Gaga had a problem with that. And there were like this massive battle between Lady Gaga and Mossy Monsters. And eventually, the Mossy Monster got changed to Baby Rocks.
Really?
But I've got a shiny Lady Gugu, because badass can know how to bribe parents.
So be honest then. Collectibles, right? That's what we've been talking about. Be honest. When you were younger, was there something that you collected that is out of the norm?
I'm kind of sorry. I've just looked at Mossy Monsters on eBay, and it's like, well, shit, they're not going for much.
I will admit, when we were talking, I did have to Google Crazy Bones. Apparently, for 30 quid, you can buy golden Crazy Bones. Oh, season 1. Ooh.
But yeah, what was the question again?
Was there a collectible that you had, or sort of, should I say, was something you collected that was out of the norm? Something that was different that not a lot of people did?
I'd say one thing that I owned back then turned into a craze. Well, not a craze, but into a collection. Is my Cube World. Only
I suppose so.
beginning of the year I found 4 that I had as a kid, and it's like, these are amazing. Just instantly fell in love with them again.
Well, yeah. Let me just quickly Google when they shit. Hang on.
They stopped being sold in 2005.
Right. Okay. So
And I was born in
still in
2002.
high school then. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think, how old was I? I think I finished high school in 2009. I was 16 then, and you said 2005.
Yeah.
So I would have been 15. Yeah.
I'd say they're very collectible, and the prices recently have been fluctuating. Like about a month ago, I had 5 spare. I don't have it anymore because I sold them. But a month ago, if I'd have sold them, I'd have got about £20, maybe £15.
Oh, hang on, that was quite recent, that wasn't it?
And since I sold them recently, I managed to get like £43 for them.
Yeah, because I think I worked out the maths, and we worked out roughly how much each one was worth or how much you paid for it, and I think it worked out that you got like 12 quid profit overall, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Might have been more. Yeah. It's like, with mentioning like collectibles and that, you're probably going to laugh at me for this, but frankly I don't give a shit. When I was a kid, one thing that I would collect that was very odd, I used to collect rocks.
I used to collect rocks, not gonna lie. You see a rock on the side, you're going down somebody's, like, you go walking down the street and someone's got like massive amount of pebbles on there, like, do you know, like, not the front garden, the outside front garden, and it's like, I'm spending half an hour raging on my hands and knees looking for a really shiny one.
Yeah. And I remember neighbours actually knocking on the window and basically telling me to get fucked, because I'd literally sit there at the front of their house just going through the fucking rocks. It's like, ooh, this one's round. Ooh, this one looks like a foot. Yeah, I don't know where the fuck I put them, if I do still have them, like, but I had this, like, orange bag, this bright orange bag, and I just literally collected all kinds. I mean, don't get me wrong, you get some people who collect crystals, like, there was a time when my mum collected crystals. Now, they're shiny, they're pretty looking. Rocks, half the time, they weren't anything special, it was just a bit of concrete that chipped away from a big block, and you're just like, oh, it's shiny, I like that.
Yeah. I remember I
yeah.
used to collect something rather strange.
Go on.
I was fascinated with snails.
Okay, I'm curious, go on.
Well, it was just something neat and nifty to have, because we didn't, I don't think at the time we had, actually no, we did have cats, so never mind, I couldn't have said we didn't have pets. But they were just like these neat little things in the garden. But it wasn't like, I collected them and they died and I'm evil, It was more like, I kept them and looked after them and built like little Lego agility courses for them. And like race them and shit. It was really fun. And then after like a week, if I just let them go.
Do you know what? Mention that to Cara because she's actually got pet snails.
No, I'm
because it's one of them.
Or a snail. They all look
Say
the
that again.
same. I went or a snail. They all look the same.
It's just a slug with a fucking hat on, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, but it's one of them. Like when it came to like collecting random stuff, like. With you said about the snails, mention that to Cara because she's actually got pet snails. I could be getting this wrong. Like African snails are like really big or something. Again, mention it to her because she's actually got them as pets. Because for all you know, like what you said about the race course, whereas it could be, it's what's the word I'm looking for? The innocence of youth. Or even ignorance of youth. Like, you might have been doing something bad, like, oh no, they don't like that stuff. But, yeah, it's one of them, like, it's adorable in some way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, I even remember, I don't know why, but I remember when I was a kid, maybe about 6 or 5, playing outside and that. And there was this girl, and she was just mouthing off. She was a right sassy cow. And she just came up to us with these snails, and I'm just like, what are you going to do with them? They suck your blood. Yeah, I'm sure they do, love.
Because any kid would fall for that. Vampiric snails, obviously it wouldn't be on the news or something.
No, but I do think this is a slightly more serious topic when it comes to snails. Like, the trail that they leave behind. Apparently that can be poisonous to dogs. So apparently if you've got a dog and obviously you've got tennis balls and whatnot and you leave them outside the house,
Make sure to wash them.
Yes, because if the snail goes on that ball and basically just fucking uses as a fucking climbing frame, whatever, the trail left behind of the dog ends up picking up that ball and ingesting that slime, it can be bad for it. I don't know how accurate that is, but supposedly that is true. Fuck, I'm gonna say it. Any dog owners out there, wash your balls. Well, that was a shitty little joke. Moving forward, let's never repeat that
really
joke again.
Was terrible. But one thing I'm trying to collect now is old Nintendo technology.
Oh, that's gonna cost a fucking fortune.
Yes, I know. Because I've already got a SNES and a NES.
We're talking tech.
And a Wii.
But we are talking tech before I was born, mate.
Yeah.
Have you even checked how much they are?
I've got a guy.
Oh, you've got a guy, have you? Yeah.
Got a guy. I think if you know what you're talking about with him, he can understand you and you can understand him more. I remember I brought my SNES and he said if you've got any other problems connecting or anything, just let us know. And I did. So I went back and I said, is there any adapters or anything I can buy off you? And not lying here, he was on it because he had a computer set up next to him, like for bills and shit. But he also had a SNES connected to it.
All right.
So what he honestly did was stop playing his game, unplug it from the TV, took the wires out of the adapter and just gave me the adapter.
Okay.
And I'm like, how much is this going to cost me? He says, yeah, you can just have it. I'm like, oh my god. Favourite guy ever.
That's a bit... I'm just going to say, that is very nice of him. It was like, what? He just gave it to you. There was, no favours, nothing.
I did spend, 100 quid in his shop,
Alright, fair enough then, yeah. No, because what I was going to say is... now, obviously, I'm not saying he's like this, but when it comes to some people, when it comes to favours, is if they do use something out, you would assume it's out of the kindness of their heart, but it turns out they see it as a favour for a favour. I remember I was down at my dad's and the neighbour knocked round and he just said, I'm going to be getting rid of this carpet, so to save me the trip, do you want it? So my mind is thinking, we're doing him a favour by taking it off his hands. If we do want it, it's saving him a trip. Since this was during a time where I was, get this material, get that material, I might be able to build whatever with it. I turn to my dad and that, and I say, do you mind if we take it off him? And he just looked at me worried, like with a worried look, and said, no, just turn him away. I was like, okay, whatever. So I said to the fella, no, it's all right, thanks though. So he buggers off. And I go to my dad, I was like, well, I could have used that for me build. It's like, no, because the way he works is, if you accepted that off him, he would have seen it as you owe him a favour. I was like, hang on a fucking minute. Yeah, so it's like, hang on a fucking minute. That doesn't make sense. We're doing him a favour by saving him a trip to the fucking tip. So why does he see that as we owe him a favour?
So I'm guessing because he paid for it and he's just giving it to you for free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably it. And that's the thing, is like, you got to be careful with some people, like, what was it the saying? Nothing's for free, or words to that effect. There are some people who can come across like they're trying to do you a favour, but really they're basically getting you in their book. So it's like, yeah, you owe me one. And it's just like, nah, it doesn't fucking work like that, mate.
No, it does not. But yeah, I've painted my mask recently. I've, for people out there, I've 3D printed a samurai mask to turn into a face mask. My dad had this Vanta Black spray paint left over.
So you spray painted it all black?
Well, obviously base coat will be black. Then I'm going to be doing, I think, the nose red, the lips red, and the teeth and tusks white with a gold tooth.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I think it was either yesterday or the day before, where you were saying to me in your own words how you were thinking about having a gold tooth. From my experience of like colour combinations and that, a lot of people tend to go for red and black. They just go well together. My opinion, black with whatever colour kind of works really well. But what I have noticed is a good metallic colour to go with black and red is gold. Maybe that's why Iron Man works so well with the with the films that have come out in recent years, where it's technically not red and yellow like in the comics. They've done red and golds because it does like work well together. So yeah, it might look alright. So how are you going to paint this?
Lint it up against a block and I've spray painted it, because obviously.
Well, yeah, for the base coat, but I'm talking about the stuff that goes on top. Are you going to be spray painting like layers and masking it off, or are you going to do it by hand?
I'm going to be doing the teeth and the tusks by hand.
Right, okay.
It's just going to have like one general big coat on all of it and then just painting over a little bit.
Because okay, fair enough. Because here's a little tip for you that I found out recently. If you wanted to spray paint something, like, let's just say, if you had a square and you spray painted it black and you wanted half of it to be red, what you could do is mask off one half and then spray paint it red or whatever. That's what I'd do. But I found out recently, to get a more smooth, like a clean like line in between paints, is when you mask it off, spray paint it with the black first of all to seal it, and then you put red on it, and then that way you get a nice clean like contrast, if that's the word to use. So yeah, you could do shit like that. I tell you what though, I wish I knew that that little trick maybe, I think 4 years ago now. Panj wanted me to make this mask for him, and I don't know what it is, and it's from some anime, but it's blue and white. So I spray paint it white, I mask it off, and I spray paint the parts blue. But of course I didn't know about that little technique, so some parts that are meant to stay white end up blue. Like, was it overspray or whatever? So I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, wait for it to dry. Right, now mask off the blue parts and spray paint it white again. And of course, overspray happens again, and I'm literally hopping back and forth. And it was so fucking annoying. But if I knew that trick back then, it would have saved me like what, an entire fucking day's work.
But I think if I do one again, I have seen a different. Well, obviously it's going to be different because it's not the same file. But this one's got different front teeth, where it's more like a jagged, like sharp teeth at the front. But the tusks you print separately, so you can glue them on.
Oh yeah.
So instead of having a bunch of supports that could potentially touch the mask and mess it up to keep the tusk supported, printing the tusk separately and gluing them on wouldn't really be a problem with the stuff me and my dad have.
Well, before you get too much into that, with the face mask, you sent me the files, and I used my software to develop support and that for it. Was that like really useful? Like, because if you want, I can do that again for you.
Yes
with the
and
next mask.
no.
How so?
The bits under like the actual bottom bit were really hard to get off.
Yeah, fair points. Fair points.
Had to do a fair bit of sanding. Bits did chip, but we got filler and sorted out easily. Now it's all because me with how my brain works. If it doesn't look good at the beginning stage, I think it's just messed up and it's broken and I need to start again. But with this, I've forced myself to keep going with it because I know it's obviously going to take time, and I'm glad I have because it's actually looking amazing with the first coat of black on it.
Because I won't lie, I used to be like in that state of mind, but eventually you'll get like the best way I can word it when it comes to doing stuff like that is I used to be like that, but then I would just think to myself, just keep going, and I won't like if you fail, if you fuck it up, you will feel like shit. But when you get the motivation to try again or to do something else, you remember what you did in the first place. You remember how you fucked up, so you know what not to do. You know what I mean?
Yes, totally agree.
Yeah, so you do remember an awful lot, like, and eventually you get to that point where, yeah, it's like, have you ever played the game Dishonored?
No.
Well, there's this game that came out for the, in the 360 and I believe it was the 360, yeah. So anyway, Dishonored, and the fella wore a certain mask, and my mate wanted me to make him that mask. And I remember when I designed it, I was sat there with all the parts in front of me, and I was trying to assemble it, and I was looking at a reference picture, and I must have sat there for about an hour, just comparing what I had in my hands with what I was looking on my laptop, and I just couldn't figure out how to fit it together. And in the end, I just thought, fuck it, I'm just going to wing it. And then that's it. I did that, and it actually worked. So with any luck, with you doing this, eventually you'll get to that point where you're like, oh, okay, I'll just wing it, and then it works. So change the subject slightly. When you've got these masks, you said that you wanted to do more, didn't you? Like, are you going to hang them up on the wall or something?
Most likely. I'm just trying to find a good hanging technique.
A hanging technique, did you say?
Yes.
I wouldn't really know what would...
Not a hanging technique, more of a
way to mount them to the wall.
Yeah, find a more suitable way to make them where I can easily access them and get them off if I wanted to wear them, like for Halloween or like a party or something. Like,
yeah.
Saying like I go to parties left, right, and centre when I don't. But it's more of a it's cool. People might want to touch it, and they can sort of thing.
I have got one idea, but it's very, very. What's the word for it? A lot of messing about.
I can't drill into the wall. I've already asked.
No, I wasn't talking about drilling into the wall. It's like I said, it's a lot of effort. They don't mind you hanging stuff on the wall, like posters and whatnot, bits of blue tack and that, do they?
No.
No, okay. So what about sticking something like with sellotape or whatnot?
I was thinking about. Eventually, I'm gonna have some shelving above like the head of my bed. Put all my masks there, cause it's gonna be like a decent, not like super long shelves, more like 3/4 of a meter long. But I could put like easily like 4 or 5 masks each shelf, and there's gonna be like 3 shelves.
Well, put it this way: I know that you can get these I don't even know what they're called, but you can get these like hangers or whatever that you stick to the wall, and they're quite strong. But when you take them off, they don't leave any sticky stuff on the wall. So, assuming you got some of them or variants of them, and you glued a magnet to these, assuming that you couldn't actually hang the mask, you could glue a magnet to these hangers, glue a magnet to the mask, and there you go, just magnetically stick it to the wall.
Well, one mask that I've got which I would like to stand up, which I've just had an idea, was with the Splicer body mask from BioShock, which I paint. I'm not going to put a clear coat on it because I think I'd managed to do it even enough so it might clump. But I've thought of, since it's got eye holes, I could build like a pillar going up behind at the back of it, spreading off sidewards, and then having 2 poles fitting through the eye hole, so it's propping it up with that holding it, but also having a little groove in the base where the bottom of it can just sit in.
I suppose you could. I mean, this shows how half-assed I've done it. I've got 2 masks on my wall that I've made, and I can't remember what was originally up there, but for whatever reason, I drilled 2 holes into the wall and hung something up, and the screws that are hanging out the walls, they're very loose. So what I've done is I've got cocktail sticks to reinforce like the holes in there, so that the screws aren't going to move like too easily. And then I've got blue tack, and I've made like a little platform that I've attached to the screw, and I've literally just got the mast sitting on top of that.
It's creative.
Yeah, it is creative. But what I was getting at though with the magnet idea is that's a lot of effort, and it might not be needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is a method. Like, but the best way to put it is there's 100 ways you could do it. Some are more effective than others. You know what I mean? Some have the pros, some have the cons, and all that.
Definitely.
So I suppose what you said about if you did have shelves, that would probably be the better idea, because, like, again with me and the masks and that, like, I've had these masks like up there for a while, but later on in the future I might think, do you know what? I don't want them on the wall anymore. So I've still got those holes in the wall, haven't I? But if you've got a shelf on the wall and you have things on display on those shelves, if you change your mind, you can take them down and just do whatever.
Switch them around and stuff like that, definitely.
Because there is one thing, though, I will admit when it comes to building stuff with the 3D printer, the downside to it is if you're printing out so much stuff and you're painting, building, whatever, eventually you start getting to, you're in a phase like, can I build that? Okay, let me give it a go. You get into a phase of, I can build that, and then you get to the point where I'm as, I can build it, but I've got nowhere to fucking put it.
Yeah. Is it me? When
like
we first get a 3D printer, and you say it to like friends who don't know you've got a printer, it's like, oh, I've got a 3D printer. It's like, can you print a penis? And it's like, why does everybody want to print a penis?
Pange, Cara, Shorty, Jade, the list goes on. All of them have at least one said to me, can you print out a penis?
Like, the most creative... This is going to sound like I'm searching penises now. The most creative penis I've found is the Cocosaurus Rex, where it's a penis, but with T-Rex legs. And it doesn't look half bad.
Well, yeah, slight changes. What site do you use for finding files and that?
Thingiverse, or if it's a Pacific thing, I just Google it.
Right, because here's the thing. There's a website that I use called yeggi.com. And it's spelt YEGGI.com. And it provides so many links. You click on a link and it'll take you to Thingiverse, as you said then. And if you're on Yeggi, I haven't done this in a while, but like last year, the year before, whatever, if you click on popular, you can see what the most popular things people have clicked on and downloaded. And for some fucking reasons, penises is up there. Penises and...
Crazy.
Penises and busts of women with their tits out. And do you know what? For shits and giggles, I'm just going to go onto the website now just to prove my points. As soon as my laptop actually decides to turn on.
I've just checked it, and it's like you can stuff on there. You have to buy, and some you don't. But one thing I'd love to make, which I have to say, if I ever had a big project, I'd love for you to work on it with me, just because I know you're detailing and how you have been building armor, because it is technically a suit of armor.
Well, what was it that... Hang on. Like, what is it you got in mind?
It's a big daddy suit, including, like, oil drum on the back.
Right, yeah.
I'd love just to make one of those and just go to a Comic-Con and blow people away.
Yeah, it would be... don't get me wrong. It would be pretty cool.
But it'd take forever to make. And where the hell would we put it?
Yeah.
It's right, Dad, you don't need a car. You don't need a car in the garage. I'm putting this here.
But it's like with the armour that I'm making now. It's literally sat in the front of my wardrobe. Like, I've got nowhere to fucking put it. I'm still going to fucking build it, but I've got nowhere to put it.
Yeah, you see these people building Hulks and stuff, but they're like professionals who have actual workshops. And it's like, we could do it, but sadly we'd have to sell it immediately.
Yeah.
Because we have nowhere to put it.
We'll say this, though. When it comes to, like... Obviously, this site has proven me wrong. Like, I'm looking on it and I'm seeing all these different things, and I'm not seeing what I see. Oh yeah, of course, Baby Yoda's here. Anyway,
But you can't
yeah,
beat
so I'm seeing.
Baby Yoda's everywhere on 3D printing sites.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like with all the stuff that I'm seeing. Oh yeah, an anime girl. Yeah, didn't take an anime. Okay, that right. It's an anime girl, right?
Yeah.
And I quote: the actual title is "Hentai Figure Miniature Dildo and Penisy Bands." Oh my fucking god!
What every boy wants for Christmas.
Oh yeah, and then you've got a naked woman as a phone holder. Okay.
Why not? Thing is, like,
Oh, my mistake.
I can
She's
imagine
wearing very, very thin underwear.
people who live alone can print those things. People like you and I who live with parents, let's say we're printing a massive dildo. Mum walks in, I wonder what he's building there. I'll give him the benefit of a doubt, it could be a building or something. Comes in when it finishes, he's just like, if that's for you, you're dead.
Well, just saying, like, even if I did live on my own, I've got my pride, and I am not printing out a cock.
No.
Because, like, what was it? I've even done metal casting, haven't I? So when I did casted the knives, I designed like a very basic knife shape and printed it to give myself a basic shape. Got the clay sands and I made a hollow version of it, and then I casted it. So theoretically speaking, what I could do if I was going to do it, I'm not going to, but if I wanted to print out a huge fucking cock, I could essentially metal cast it. I'm not gonna do it. Why would I want to do it?
Robo dildo.
That would not, like, obviously, you know, I'm a straight bloke, so I'm obviously not going to relate. But if you're into that kind of
What,
stuff,
and you're saying I will?
No, I'm not saying that. But if you got someone who is into that stuff, as in, you know, doing private stuff involving dildos and that, each to their own.
It'd
But
be a good business.
Do you know what? I wouldn't disagree with on that, because even my brother was saying with all the stuff that I'm able to make out of leather and whatnot, he's even been saying like, oh, you could make this. There's quite a market for shit like that. And it's like, yeah, but I've got my pride, mate. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is people who are into that stuff, each to their own, no judgment whatsoever. All I've got to say though is if the stuff that they're using is metal, I'd imagine it to be pretty fucking cold.
Yeah, but that's what a microwave's for. You heat it up for a minute and then...
You don't put metal in the microwave!
Fine, we'll shove it in the oven then. But
what you cooking? Cock!
Thing is with 3D printing, it's definitely... It's as you would say, a gateway drug to other building things. But when you mention 3D printing to someone, they don't... Because obviously you need to know about the tech side of it, the actual physical printer... I know about the printer side of it, I don't know about the code side of it. When you say 3D printing to, let's say, a teacher or something, they're like, oh, since you've got one, you must know everything. And it's like, I do it as a hobby, and I don't know everything. If I had a job in it, I wouldn't mind, but it's not like a specific aim.
Well, what was it with my one? Like, the fact is, you and I first started talking because of this topic. And I know so much because I've had so many issues. Like, I spent an entire weekend trying to fix the printer, like opening it up, couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and I had a random thought, and it's like, maybe I need to clean the nozzle. And cleaning the nozzle, you don't have to open up the printer. So spending the weekends, open it up, putting it back together, open it up again, and it was just not working. And then I cleaned the nozzle. Within 5 minutes, it was working again. It's like, you fucking bastards.
I definitely got a scare when I accidentally nudged something, it wouldn't go back. But once I took it to pieces and understood it, it was more of, it's a problem that I've made into a worse problem, which wasn't really a problem, but due to the lack of knowledge and not being able to see it because it's usually enclosed, taking it to pieces and put it together, yes, it'll fix your problem, but it'll also give you more knowledge about different parts of the printer as well.
Well, I don't know if you're talking about the same issue, but do you remember where what should happen is it should stop printing in the centre of the boards, but for some reason it was starting to print at the front left corner?
Yeah.
And wasn't that something to do with, there was like a set, there was actually a set on the file?
How I read it was, if this is on, it will use the middle instead of the side. It wasn't the case, it was all the way around. If this is on, it'll go from the side, not the middle.
Well, that's it, because I remember you were messaging me about that, and you were quite concerned trying to figure it out. You took a screenshot, and you showed me this, and I was like, right, well, it says off, turn it on, or vice versa, and it starts to work again. But the one thing I can't understand is, when it comes to printing anything, I can't see why that would be a useful function.
No. Unless it's like something big and it calibrated, like, we'll start at this corner and make the whole board so. But that still doesn't make sense, because even if you start in the middle, if your print is like a bit lower, a bit higher up or a bit lower down in a specific position, let's say in the left corner, something's a bit lower to start off with than the middle, it won't start printing in the middle because it has got nothing to print, so it'd automatically start at the side.
That's the thing. It's like, sorry to interrupt you, but it's like, with my print bed being like, 15 by 15, 15 squared, if I was printing a 10 by 10 square, it would recognise where the middle is, and then it will pick a corner, and then it will start printing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would start doing that shape in the centre of the boards. But if like recognises the corner as the centre, then obviously it's not going to print it. So I cannot say how that would be useful. Do you know what? To say how it is, we aren't experts on it. We know a lot from experience, but we don't know everything. So chances are there is a reason for that setting.
Yeah, but we do have common sense in thinking, if I've got to build a circle and it's at a square corner and it thinks it has to go further than it can actually go, something's not right.
I mean, what was it that I was trying to say to you before we found out it was a setting issue? I was saying to you in my own words, well, instead of making, if it recognises that corner as the centre, well, why don't you get the coordinates for what the centre is and then do the maths and then basically make it start, make the printer think it's starting in the top right corner, but it's actually starting in the centre. But then that worked out to be too complicated. As we discussed, it was just, clicking a certain thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, a slight change of subject. Going back to printing, type of files and that. There is one site, and I won't lie, if people are wanting to buy 3D printed stuff, I'm gonna have to try and find the site to confirm it. But there's this certain site that I keep stumbling across every time I'm looking for files, and the quality of the stuff is fantastic. How unique even. Like, I don't know, Iron Man, for example. Like the Iron Man Mark II, like armor that he makes. You can find the files of that, and it looked all right. But then if you find that type of armor on this site, there's so much more detail. So you're like, oh, I want that. But the problem with this site is clearly you have to buy off it, but there's no like option to buy. And I've even messaged them like, well, how do you've got a basket, but how the hell do you add it to your basket? And he's just like, well, you just click on it. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that. It just takes me to the page. If I click on the image, it just loads up the image. It was just so annoying. Like, I'm gonna try and find it now. Iron Man. Oh, fucking hang on.
Like, it's you think of when I first started, it's like, oh my god, I could make an Iron Man suit. I could make fucking Mjolnir, Captain America's shield. And it's real. Then you think about it more and more, and it's like, I could, but I don't have the skills currently. And it's more like, they've been doing it a few years and they know how to do it, and I'm looking at it like, I can print it and it's done.
Well, here's the thing. From my experience, when it comes to printing like armor, for example, like if it was Iron Man's or whatever, the idea of being able to print out like the suit of armor is just having the printer doing all the work for you. It's not as simple as that.
No.
Like, when I tried to build Batman's armor, yes, I was able to print out all the armor plating, but I was the one who had to assemble like a suit for them to attach to. Most cosplayers, they just get Velcro and they get like a jacket and then they just put it together like that. Me, no, it has to be proper armor. And I spent months, if not like a year, trying to get it done. And in the end, I just scrapped the idea. It was just one of them, like, it just wasn't working. And I found out that basically the best way of putting it is, don't rely on it to do all the work. There is still other stuff that you need to do. So
Definitely.
Right, I'm not finding that site that I was on about, but slight change of subject. Christian, you might have experienced this.
Oh.
Have you ever looked for files to print out something and you always find your way back to Pinterest?
No.
Fair enough, because I'll be honest with you, Pinterest really pisses me off half the time. It's like, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of cool stuff on there, but it's not the fucking source. Like if you go into Google, and here we go, right? So I've typed in Iron Man.
I
3D
understand
model.
where you're coming from, though.
Right, yeah. So for those who don't know, if you go into Google and you type in whatever images you're looking at, Google is showing you images from across other sites. So it even has the source site there. So if you click on the image and then you can click on the site that the image is taken from, it's as simple as that. But for some reason, there's a lot of images that are saved to Pinterest and it just recognizes Pinterest as being the source. And it's like, no, that's not the source. That's just someone has taken that image from the source and just shared it on their account.
And then someone's uploaded it to there and up to there.
Exactly. So it's like, what was it? The game Destiny. I think they're called Exos, like the robotic race. I wanted to download files to print out an Exo head, thinking it'll be very cool, and it kept taking me back to Pinterest, and it was pissing me off because I knew that wasn't the source. And after spending a good few hours, I eventually found the source. It turns out it wasn't even 3D printed; it was made out of foam, and I actually managed to talk to the fella who made it. He just loaded up the game, and he was just having his character stood there, and he was just like take pictures with his phone, and yeah, he had all different angles of the heads, and then he just using them as reference, he just made the entire thing out of foam. I was like, you clever fuck. You know what I mean? But it took me hours to get to that point, and it shouldn't have to, because with Pinterest being a pain in the ass.
But like, one thing I saw once was 3D printing. We always want things that we can't get normally, like stuff from games that somebody else has thought of, but is really cool. And one thing that I admire of this one guy, he actually went into the source code of a game, got the 3D file, and managed to print exactly what was in the game. Instead of like a knockoff like that he designed, he actually managed to find the actual source of it, and I thought that was pretty neat how he managed to figure out how to do that.
As interesting as, you know what, to say how it is, I've tried doing that, but unfortunately it's not always that simple.
No.
Because what I have noticed is, I know, Skyrim, for example, the Dawn Guard armor, like the helmet, I thought was pretty cool. And I managed to get the files for it, but turns out the actual 3D model of the helmet, it's not exactly good quality. What makes it look good is the texture on top of the 3D model.
Yes.
So you can download the files and it'll be very, very smooth. So unfortunately, you do need to put in the detail. You do need to do some 3D modeling, and there are people who dedicate their time to do this. And, you know, looking at Iron Man, for example, is a good example. Like, we're talking the level of detail on that. And you do get some people who make it very similar, but it's not perfect. And you get some people who clearly go overboard with it. And, you know, you've got to give them credit for doing it. Because I've got limited experience with 3D modeling on the computer. And I can tell you this much. I've spent hours and I still struggle. There's probably, like, we're talking what I have done. There's probably easier ways to do it. But because of lack of knowledge, then, you know, I have to do it the long way. But the thing is, I get it done in the end. I spent about a month trying to design a helmet. And it looked alright for me, but it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. But then using those files, I was then able to design another helmet in the space of a weekend. But I wouldn't be surprised if I could have done both in the space of a day if I had the right skill.
Do you know, like, back to my collectibles and to like Pokemon and stuff, with 3D printing, instead of like looking at a poster or getting a stuffed cuddly toy, I think it'd mean more to you if you actually printed like a real big Pokemon, painted it yourself, detailed it yourself. I think it'd mean more to you, but also, if you didn't want it, if you did actually do it that well, since it is part of a popular market, you would be able to get your money for it.
Oh yeah, tell you what, I'm just going to type in on that Yegi site. Right, there we go, I've just typed in Pokemon, and straight off the bat, what the fuck is that?
Please tell me it's not a Clefairy with tits.
No, it's like, you know that Pokemon that is basically just a brown... Hang on, let me finish. You know that Pokemon that's just like a brown head that's sticking out of the dirt?
Diglett.
For some reason, someone has put Diglett's head on He-Man's body.
Yes, I have seen that. It is a very good meme.
Oh, it's a meme, is it? Oh, fair
Yes.
enough then.
Like they built like this giant plant pot. A little bit where Diglett's head popped through, so it looks like a normal Diglett. But once you take the top off the pot, he's got like a buff-ass body underneath.
No, but it's like, I'm looking at these, like, Pokemon balls, like Pokemon, maybe badges, I think they are.
I've got all of those in real life.
So yeah, it's like, yeah, it's something, like, you'd probably be like, no, I'm not doing that. Other people who collect Pokemon cards would also be like, no, I'm not doing that. But I suppose one thing you could do is create, like, a display cabinet of sorts for the cards. Do you know what? I should have mentioned this before, but I remember years ago when I was like maybe 12, and at the time I'd go to boot sales with my dad and that. And one time I went to a boot sale and I saw this huge collection of Pokemon cards, and the sign just said £1.50. That's it. Didn't say £1.50 each. It just said £1.50. And I just turned to the woman and said, "Are all these £1.50?" And she just looked at me with a straight face and said, "What do you think?" I just wish I had the sass that I've got now back then just to call her a fucking cow to her face. I mean, fix your fucking sign, love. But anyway, yeah, the point is, like, I suppose you could, like, create, like, a display stand. Like, if you had a lot, like, maybe, like, something that you could mount to the wall. I don't know, it's, like, I think what's interesting about the topic is if you know what you're doing when it comes to design and stuff, even something as simple as display case, like, we're not talking, it needs a lot of detail. If you knew how to, like, I don't know, essentially like Lego, if you, like, had the sides done, you had essentially the plans to make, like, a cabinet, and then on the front of the cabinet, you were able to engrave, like, the Pokemon logo. You could put them in there, you know what I mean? That would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, surprise, surprise, we're actually at 1 hour and 4 minutes.
Oh, are we?
We
Fucking
absolutely
hell,
are.
talking about collecting things and then talking about printing stuff. Didn't expect it to go on for that long. But yeah, go on then. I think that basically wraps it up. Go on and
So,
say
good
what you say.
morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Thanks again for listening. We hope to see you in the next episode. Bye for now.